Hey YouTubers, I've recently purchased a Sig Scorpion 1911. Sweet, sweet looking 1911. Walked into the gun shop looking for a P229 or 226. Really like those P-Series SIGs. And just browsing around, I saw this one sitting over the display case, brand new, really sweet. Love the feel of it, love the trigger. I thought, man, if it's as good a shooter as it is good looking, that's going to be a sweet, sweet gun. So, I got it, took it out the range, and had a few problems. We had a little bit of a problem with a failure to feed, usually on the first round. It liked to be racked versus slide release. It would nosedive and hit that feed ramp, and it didn't want to load into the chamber and go into battery. So I'd have to drop my magazine out, clear the chamber, put the mag back in, and it would feed another round in. Also noticed when I got back from shooting that the magazine catch down here in the mag well was covered in copper. I started noticing some of my casings were bent, and so I fed some by hand, some live rounds through, and noticed it was trying to catch the casings and pull the casing away from the bullet, but it left copper off the nose of those hollow points on the magazine catch. So I thought, well, that could be part of my problem right there. It could be catching and not letting it go up in there properly and feed. So I took it out, took the gun apart, filed that down. I think I've got that solved. I'm not having any problems with my casings anymore. So I ran some rounds through it, and it was still doing the failure to feed. So I started looking. At first, I went down and bought some new Chip McCormick's CMCs, really nice mags. A friend of mine told me, he said, hey, you can't go wrong with those. They're really good magazines. And if those don't work, get you some Wilson Combats. Well, ended up going back down to the gun shop, and they had two Wilson Combats, a stainless steel standard Wilson Combat, and the new Combat Tactical Elite with the wide base. Much stiffer. It's got a plastic guide right here. It keeps the magazine feed lips there straight and level. It doesn't allow it to tilt. As you'll notice, the Chip McCormick's have a gap there. Some of these 1911 magazines do, and they allow it to tip forward, which is not a good feature when you're having a failure to feed and it's nose diving into your feed ramp and not wanting to go into battery. So I use the Wilson Combats as my base, and baseline is what and how they feed. So I put them in manually there, and slide one up in here in the magazine. As you'll notice, they have a really nice angle going up into the feed ramp there, and I needed to pattern it off of those. They tend to work. They were feeding a lot better, smoother, straighter, right into the chamber. So I started looking at the stock mags, and this thing was all tilted over to the right side here, and it didn't look right. It almost looked bent, deformed. So I took it apart, dropped the base out, pulled the spring, pulled this out, and opened the gap up. Got a little wider gap, straightened the mag here, and I got a little bit wider angle, steeper angle in it, but it tends to work. So I may have solved part of my problem, hopefully. So So after I did that one, I looked at the other one, and sure enough, it was identical. Had a slope there to the right. It had a smaller gap. Changed the angle, widened it up, and then I noticed the Chip McCormick's were the same way. Now they still have a tendency to want to nosedive or tip forward, but they didn't have the proper angle to push that round up into the chamber. So I tweaked them. I took them apart, pried this wider, made a little bit wider gap, make sure it has a good angle on it. Reassembled them, ran some rounds, live rounds through my gun by hand, and they seemed like they're wanting to work. They're wanting to feed. So what I've got planned is go back down to the gun range tomorrow and run some rounds through it and see if I haven't solved my problem. I know a lot of the guys that I've watched YouTube videos, read blogs, lots of gun blogs. Some guys have not had any kind of problems with their Sig 1911s. Some have had numerous problems. It's been hit and miss. So I know Sig makes a very good weapons. They're very nice, expensive. I've always had a high standard for Sig. Their quality and reputation and the reliability behind all the weapons that they've made. I just assumed that you buy one of their quality guns and you wouldn't have any problems, and you're going to trust your life with that gun. You do not want it questioning, is it going to work this time? Maybe, hopefully it'll feed that first round in. You've got one in the chamber, will it cycle the next? You just don't want that in the back of your mind. So as a concealed carry, I would concealed carry this in the winter. It's a little bit bigger. I'm not a real big guy, smaller frame person. A lot easier for me to carry something this big concealed in the winter. I have basically the baby version of this gun in the P238 Scorpion 380, and love it. It cycles. It'll eat anything. You can throw any kind of ammo in it. It will just eat it up. Very reliable. I've ran over 100 and something rounds through it. Not one failure to feed. No malfunctions. Wonderful little gun. I would actually, I'm carrying it concealed carry now, and I would definitely trust it to not fail me in a crisis situation or under pressure. But this one right now, it's one of those take to the range and shoot it for fun and plinking, and that's not what they're designed to do. They're designed to protect you and help you, and I want it to live up to its reputation of the Sig name. So we're going to run some little tests tomorrow, and we'll find out, and then we'll check back, and hopefully I've solved the problem. And if anybody else has had this problem, hopefully this little video will help you out too. It's a real simple fix. It doesn't take just a few minutes. You're going to take your magazines apart and want to keep them clean and the springs oiled. So it's just a little extra maintenance, and you get to tweak them out and make sure they're working right. And thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully this works.